At the end of this video, we'll take a look at MadRamp's innovative pivoting ramp system, the safer, easier way to transport your ATVs and snowmobiles. Stick around. Before we begin, I'd like to give a quick shout out to our friends at the historic Lancaster Motel in Lancaster, New Hampshire. The Lancaster Motel has been serving snowmobilers since the 60s, and they are the perfect eastern trail riding destination for snowmobilers young and old. The Lancaster Motel is right on Corridor Trail 5 in Lancaster, New Hampshire, with plenty of parking for vehicles, sleds, and trailers. Plus, the Lancaster Motel is within walking distance of Crane's Snowmobile Museum, plus restaurants, shopping, entertainment, and more. Click the link in the description to learn more about the Lancaster Motel. Good evening and welcome to the podcast. I'm really glad you're here tonight. Great to see everyone. I can see that we're loading up here with a lot of viewers, and I really appreciate everyone being on. I have a robust lineup of vintage snowmobile entertainment in store for you here tonight. As you can see, we've got two live guests waiting for us in the green room. We're going to get to them in just a few moments. But before we do, I want to check to make sure that everything is working properly. If you can see my face and hear my voice, I'm going to ask you to leave a comment in the comment section. Let me know where you're viewing this from. Also, let me know if you were a first-time viewer or a regular viewer. To the first-time viewers, I thank you so much for coming on to check this out. I hope that you enjoy this podcast and like what you see. I hope also that you decide to come and join us every Thursday night at 9 p.m. Eastern Time at this same place. To the regular viewers, I thank you guys so much, so incredibly much for coming on here every week and being regulars on the program. We could not do this without you. This is what makes all of this possible. So let's get in here, check the comments real quick. We have Joe Makowski from Thompson, Connecticut. He is a regular viewer, and we thank him so much for being on. Joshua Gilbert on here again. He's from Priest Lake, Idaho. John Spranger Jr. from Central Wisconsin. The trails are closed right now for the season. I guess it's warming up. Also want to give a shout out to John. He sent me an email this week with some good information, and I thank him for that. We've got Richard Brazo from Coleman, Wisconsin. Thanks for being on, Richard. Our good friend Brian Robillard. He is a regular and he is a frequent contributor to this program, and we thank him for that. In fact, a little later in the program, we're going to have a video that he's shared with us. We have Rick Scouten from Odessa, Ontario, Canada. Thanks for being on, Rick. We have Peter Chappell from Cuyahoga, New York. From the home of Bill Stull. Excellent. Good. Thank you for coming on. That must be Mrs. Stull. We have Tom Gregory on, regular viewer from Armada, Michigan. Jim Layton, also a regular viewer and a He's been a guest on here twice. He's from Limestone, Maine. We've got Joe Zeinert. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that correctly, but Joe is watching from Hortonville, Wisconsin. Nick Kafez, regular viewer from Shelby Township, Michigan. Thank you for coming on. We have Jeremy Sather, first-time viewer from Minnesota. Thank you so much for coming on. Stacy and Art Fosler from Pattonkill. They are regular viewers, and we appreciate them being on the program. Carl Merhuber, I hope I'm not mispronouncing that, from Jackson, Maine. And I lost my place with here we go. The comments are coming in hot and heavy, and I really appreciate it, guys. But it makes my screen scroll, and I lose my place. But that's a nice problem to have. I thank you guys for that. Richard Grondin from St. Petersburg, Florida. We have Kirk Fellbaum coming on. I appreciate you all being on here, Kirk. Perry Chemnitz, regular viewer from Pembina, North Dakota. My apologies. Philip Hebert from Coatesville, PA. Kim Erlinger from Jasper, Minnesota. Kevin Olson from Shawano, Wisconsin, regular viewer. We appreciate you being on. We have Brent Fankhauser from Minnesota, first-time viewer. Appreciate you checking us out tonight. Gary Osentowski from Hulbert, Michigan. Appreciate you coming on. Jeff Nix from Mercer, Wisconsin. John Walker from Ontario, Northern Ontario. Eric Schuett, first-time viewer from Sugar Camp, Wisconsin. Mike McAlargy, I hope I'm close on that, from Caseville, Michigan. Get someone on here saying everything is sounding good. Appreciate that. David Rappa from Sewell, New Jersey, rides in New Hampshire. Consider riding at the Lancaster Motel, which is a wonderful, wonderful location. Just something to think about. I'll be telling you more about the Lancaster Motel here a little later in the program. We've got Joe Zeinert from Hortonville, Wisconsin. Jim Gaccioni from Lee, Mass., regular viewer. Ken Warnicki, first-time viewer. Thanks for coming on. My lovely girlfriend Carlene Perry is on. Thank you, my dear, for being on. Chip Deal from Elkhart, Indiana. David Crodo. And one more before we bring on our first guest here. We've got Scott Bishop from Munson, Maine, first-time viewer. We've got a lot of fresh faces on here tonight. And, guys, I really, really appreciate that. So, without further ado, let's not keep our guest waiting any longer. He's going to be showing us some Rupps here. Let's get him on the program. I'm going to introduce you to our good friend, Bill Stull. How you doing, Bill? And let me turn his mic on. My apologies, Bill. How you doing, Bill?
I'm doing good. Thank you.
Well, thank you. I really appreciate your coming on tonight. Now, looks like you've got some racing Rupps there. I'm going to put you full screen, and maybe you can tell us about some of these Rupps and some racing history that any of these might have.
Yeah, right, sure. So 21 years ago was my first season of racing vintage snowmobiles, and I started with Rupp, and it was my first snowmobile that I ever personally bought, and it was a Rupp. And so I got into collecting, and then a buddy of mine, we went up to Eagle River on a Wednesday when they used to run vintage at Eagle River, and I saw that, and I'm like, I could do that. I think I'd enjoy that. So then the next year, I built an oval sled, and 21 years later, here I am still racing these Rupps. So it's kind of funny. 21 years ago, I met some really good friends in the sport, and they were buddies, and there was racing. And now, fast forward 21 years, I'm still racing. Now I'm racing my buddies' kids. My buddies have retired, so. But you know what? I still can run with them, and it's just a fun time. I really, really enjoy it. So I don't plan on giving up anytime soon, even though I do talk about retiring, but each season there's always a glimpse of more speed, more better this, more better that, better sled, and I think I can do it. So I'll be out there again next year.
Nice. You'll be doing it as long as you possibly can.
Yeah, betcha.
That's amazing. That's amazing. I wonder if you could tell us about some of the highs and lows and maybe any accidents that you've either seen or experienced doing this.
Oh, the sport has changed tremendously since the beginning. When I first started racing, I really did race a real vintage Rupp snowmobile. It was a 73 Magnum. Not much you changed from it. Was how it was the way it came from the factory. Back when Gene Bloom and John Binkley were running these Rupps, it was basically the same sled. Not much changed since the way they raced. But then as the sport evolved, more people got in. We had a certain amount of rules. People stretched the rules, and pretty soon here we are. And man, we can just do some crazy, crazy stuff. So some of the highs, obviously when you're winning, you're having a good day. Those are all good. Some of the lows, when your stuff's breaking, accidents. Some things just don't go right from the beginning. Other days or other weekends of racing are just amazing. It's just like, geez, can't get much better than this. And but had some lows. Had a couple bad accidents back to back. Not my fault. Just racing. Some is people driving over their head. Some was a mechanical failure on someone's part, or my part. It just happens. It's unfortunate. But the rough driving. I mean, we're only racing for a little bit of money and a place to get a plastic trophy. And my thoughts have always been, I got to go to work on Monday. So I push the limit. I'm a crazy driver out there. I really push the limits, but I do have in the back of my head, I got to go to work on Monday, which I think 99.9% of the people I race against have that same thought. So I do race against a really good group of guys. Got to be really good friends. And if we had an incident on the track, there might be a little bit of heated discussion, but at the end of the day, I think for the most part, we all shake hands and we fix our stuff up and just keep on going. So.
Nice. While you're talking about that leads me to a question that always has intrigued me with racers. Is on the track, they don't cut each other any slack whatsoever. They really give each other hell. But off the track, they're the best of friends. And after the race, they'll have beers together and laugh together. And I wonder if you could go into a little detail about what that dynamic is like for both you and some of the friends that you're close with that you race against.
Oh, sure. So, like last year, we had an incident. A really good friend and family that race, and it's just one of those things. I got run over to skis, and I rolled, and I was pissed, and it just 20 minutes later, it's no big deal. I understand, and have a couple of drinks or shake hands or whatever it is. You kind of let that go out the door, because you know what, he didn't mean it. I didn't mean it. If I did it to somebody, honestly, it was a racing incident, and you're going to have those. And the thing is that most of us can, just basically shake hands and just understand that it was just a racing incident. I mean, when you race these sleds at these speeds and as rough as the tracks get and the way the sleds bounce around, there's bound to be contact. And like I said, I will go on the limit and say that 99.9% of the people that I race against have no intention of wiping you out. And I sure as heck do not have any intention of wiping out. So it's a really good bond that us racers have. I mean, and then on top of it, we have to have a lot of trust, because at the speeds we're going, you have to trust the next guy next to you. And this is almost basically like Talladega or Daytona racing, where you're trusting the guy in front of you, the guy beside you, the guy behind you. I mean, this isn't just like normal track racing. I mean, there's a lot of trust in this sport. And like I said, the guys I race against, I think I couldn't ask for a better group of guys to race against.
That's amazing. Yeah, that's got to be some amazing camaraderie. And I understand what you're saying about the trust, because when something does happen, maybe an accident or an incident that's unplanned, it happens at very high speeds and things happen really fast. And once it happens, it's happening. There's no taking it back, and it's nobody's fault. It was no one's intention, but you just have to roll with it, I guess.
Right, you can't stop it. I mean, once it starts, it's going until it's finished. And luckily, we haven't had in my racing organization. Luckily, we haven't had any serious accidents or fatalities. Thank God. Before every race weekend when it starts, my wife, she used to race, Becky, my daughter Caitlin, who still races, us three, we have a little thing in our family. It's called, hold pinkies, and we hold pinkies. And I was born and raised in the church. My dad was a preacher. So I believe a lot of God, trust in God and stuff. And I say a prayer every race before we race every weekend. And Tom Lewis, he's an excellent photographer. Tom takes some great pictures. He's captured some of those pictures of Becky and I and Caitlin praying. And you know what? Honestly, God, I've never asked for a win. I asked, let us race good, let us race hard. No mechanical failures. He doesn't always answer my prayers, but, it's okay, and we're still here to race about it. But I just got firm belief in prayers before the race, and yeah, I really enjoy that.
I love that. I love that, and I agree with you too. To me, prayer isn't asking about winning; it's about safety and guidance. And yeah, I absolutely agree with that. Um, and I'm looking here on the screen. Jim Goccione, I hope I'm pronouncing his name correctly, but he's mentioning that your daughter was a world champion last year. I wonder if you could tell us a little about that.
Yeah, sure. So Caitlin started racing. Man, I don't know. I'm going on in here 6 years ago, 7 years ago, something like that.
Yeah.
And when she started in juniors, we did. Rupp doesn't have a snowmobile that's built to match the class at that time, so she was kind of back in the pack. And then I was always pumping her up that when you step up, out of juniors, that you're going to be on a 75 Rupp freer, then you're going to be on a level playing ground. So she was really pumped, and she couldn't wait to get on a 75 Rupp freer, and then so she raced that, and she got to be really competitive. And then we went to Ironwood, Michigan last year, and she raced, and Becky was also racing. Also, I think Becky got third in that race. And then but Caitlin, she checked out right from the get-go, and she won by a big amount, and that was her first win, and she was so excited, and it was awesome. We went to Eagle River, and she had a heat race, and I don't remember where she placed in the heat race, but it was good, and the sled was running really good, and she had a really good line. And then when the race came, she spun. So the World Championship race was on Sunday for the women's last year. She spun off the line. She was dead last. I think there was 7 ladies and her, so there's 8 in the class. And she had to come from behind. And by the time they went around turn 2, she picked up a few spots, and she was fast, and she picked up a few more, and pretty soon she's in second, and she's battling Kendra Sacco. And Caitlin would get around Kendra, and then Caitlin was, Kendra was ahead of Caitlin, and Caitlin was trying a little bit too hard, and sometimes you got to go slower to go faster, and Caitlin was blowing turn 1 at Eagle River, and she was drifting away up the hill. I'm like, oh, come on, and then she would be way behind, but she had a lot of smoke, and she would catch Kendra. In 3 and 4, she was handling the corners really well, and that was a great battle. And then it came down to the last corner, and then Caitlin got around Kendra, and Caitlin won the world championship in the class. And as a parent, I mean, it's amazing watching your kids grow, in from just a little squirt to a woman, and how good of a driver she is, and she did really good. I couldn't be more proud. And Becky was announcing, and Becky up in the booth, it was crazy. She was like, "Oh my God, this is awesome!" And she's supposed to announce her, no bias, right, Becky? So, but no, it was a very, very proud moment. I think that every parent have when their kid does something really good. It's school or life, or for us racing here. So I mean, with Becky and I, we could be happier. And the whole team was. I mean, my whole team was we were just living it pretty high. She did great.
That's amazing. That's amazing. And if I understand correctly, your wife Becky is an announcer for the races. Do I understand that correctly?
Yeah, she's a heck of an announcer. There's that saying, "Women don't forget." Well, Becky, she doesn't forget numbers. She doesn't forget names. And I can ask her, "Who's number 67X?" "Oh, that's Paul Sockwell." She just knows off the top of her head. But obviously, Paul and I are really good buddies, so I just named him. But no, she can pick off numbers. People from the East Coast, from the West Coast, from Michigan. I mean, she knows the names and numbers, and she adds a lot to the race. And then people come up to me all through the weekend at like Eagle River. People ask or say things to me like, "Oh, tell Becky she's doing a great job." And yeah, she announces for Eagle River. She's been up there for quite a long time. And then she also announces for Pro Vintage Racing, also racing that we race with, and she does just awesome. She's good on the mic. She really is.
Excellent, amazing. Now we've got John Spranger Jr. on here, and he's wondering if we can have a close up of these Rupps. The gentleman that's holding the camera for you, I don't know if it's on a tripod or if he's holding it in his hands, but is it possible to go in for some close-ups of these, maybe talk up details about them?
Sure. So this is my 440 Supermod. There's not a lot of Rupp left in this, but it is Rupp. I mean, we run original bulkheads. This original steel bulkhead, and then we cut off and we fab from there. So, and then this is, the way the technologies went. This has got a complete computer system on it. So we plug a little chip into the computer after a run, and it tells us everything it did. It did mile per hour and, everything, temperatures, EGTs. I mean, the whole ball of wax. So it's a really, really fun sled. I've had this sled for quite a long time, and I really enjoy this. This is one of our builds. This sled here is Caitlin's sled. It's a world championship sled. She had some struggles this year. We changed some things in the motor. I just don't think that we had coverage in the motor set up quite right. And then this last weekend was our last race in Manuel, Wisconsin. And Caitlin had a DNF on Saturday, and then we came back Saturday night, and me and my team, we worked on it, not all night, but we got done about 11 o'clock, got it loaded back up in the truck, and then Caitlin raced it on Sunday, and she wasn't prepared for that. We got it right finally. And she launched it. She almost fell off. She had to let off the gas. She goes, I wasn't expecting that, So then she was last because she had to let off, and then she had to drive around some traffic, and she got up to second. So she was smiling that it just ran and everything was good. So it's amazing how 1 year can just change like so good and then not so good, So, but we got the last race and we got it figured out. So we got a lot to look forward for her for next year. She's really happy with that. This one here, another Supermod sled. This is my 76 Magnum. This is a liquid cooled 250. Zenoa liquid. Really, really, really fun sled. Man, I love this sled. This is a fun sled to drive. But 76 Magnum, Supermod also. And then this is a 75 Rupp Premier Supermod. This is a 340 Supermod. So as right now, I actually sold this sled. So it's amazing. Didn't even get much time on it. And guy fell in love with it. And he says, I want that sled. And he's not even going to race it. He's actually probably going to put it on the shelf and stare at it. That's what he said. So didn't even get a full season on this sled. And we got a couple of thirds with it. Motor was strong, but the brand new chassis, it was really tight for me. It wasn't 100% set up yet. We just needed to spend one more day on the ice just with this sled, setting up the chassis and getting it to handle correctly. And I think it would have been, a very dominant sled in the 340 Supermod class. But I got a couple of thirds with it, so I was happy with it for a first year sled and not a lot of test time. We got such a slow start up here for the winter, and it just didn't get a lot of test time with it. But as right now, it's sold. So maybe next year we'll build another one. So, and then the picture on the wall here, this is kind of cool. This is a guy that did this here. He was actually filming. This was supposed to be for a movie that never actually did get produced, but that was for a movie, and that was my 440 Supermod triple. And that, without a doubt, was probably my funnest sled I ever had. That son of a gun was so doggone fast and so fun to drive. And then, unfortunately, we had a drive shaft failure, and that sled got slammed into the wall and got destroyed.
Oh, no.
Yeah, it got destroyed. I got knocked out. I was pretty banged up on this accident. And so we rebuilt it, and it was never the same. It didn't handle right. It just was not the same sled. And same thing, I sold that to a museum, and now that's sitting on the shelf as a look at me type, sled. So
Sure. Yeah, that's a beautiful sled and a beautiful poster. And I want to thank people that are making comments and giving you compliments on these sleds. And I just wanted to remind our viewers that if you have questions for Bill, or if you'd like to pay a compliment, please do so in the comment section. The other thing I was going to ask you, Bill, about the racing, do I understand that you have a team of racers that you're racing with?
Yep. So my team consists, it's had different people over the years, but two people that have been with me for a very long time is my nephew, Will Stull, and he works for me here at the body shop also, and works on cars and snowmobiles. And then Matt Claire, who's been working with me since like 2005, 6 here at the shop. He's been here a long time. So those two guys have been with me the longest. And, there's some up and down, just not in the racing world is racing, but as a team too. There's sometimes, when buddies are buddies and something's aggravated and, sometimes, things just kind of butt heads a little bit, but you know what? Same thing. At the end of the day, we're pretty cool. But other people that I've had that I have on a team like this year, Jeremy Shea, he's a new guy that here at the shop, been working since the fall, and he's a real big guy in the bike shop and also a big guy in the snowmobiles. He comes with us, and then Aaron, he's kind of just works the way he is around the sled. He's not up on the sled mechanics part of it, but he's a good help. We need help taking stuff out to the trailer to the shop. And then another thing, he took a bunch of pictures this year and kind of filmed us doing our thing. So it's the first time I ever had kind of like a on set type, photographer. So he's been good. So yeah, thanks Jeremy and Aaron for the help. But Matt and Will. I mean, if it wasn't for those guys, I wouldn't have 4 sleds. I mean, I could probably handle 1 sled myself, but not having the fleet of Rupps that I have, it wouldn't be possible. And then there's so many people that have been on the team and over the years, and they've had fun, but things change. They had girlfriends, now they're married, or whatever. They grow up and do their own thing. But no, it's without a team. I mean, it's hard to operate, and I have a great team.
Nice. Now we've got a question here from Keith Wigand. He's wondering if any of the original non-modified Rupps are running in races these days. I don't know if he's talking about your Rupps or Rupps in general at the races.
Yeah, so there's all kinds of classes across the board that you can run in. There's stock, there's super stock, there's pure stock. Pure stock PBR invented that class years ago, and there's not much you can change from that. So there is that. But out of these Rupps here, this sled right here, Caitlin's, this is called super stock. You can't alter this very much. I mean, this is basically about the way they came from the factory. So you can't alter this sled much. You can put a better track in it. We're not allowed to run completed tracks anymore, so we have to put a rubber track in it. And sure. And we can run an updated suspension. You can't run, say, like a Wall Brothers suspension, but you can run, a suspension 84 and older. But we rerun the original Rupp rails in here yet. So we have the Rupp suspension with the shims and the leaf springs, and it's kind of primitive as some of the other ones, but I mean, it works great. So, but this is basically your bone stock sled, super stock sled.
Nice. Now, Eric Schuett is giving you a compliment. He says that Bill and his family and crew are great people with really nice equipment. So it's nice to see some compliments coming in for you.
Thank you.
Sure. Now, also, to shift gears a little bit, when you're not racing, when you're not racing Rupps, you're also collecting Rupps. Do I understand that correctly?
Yes, I have a huge collection of Rupp snowmobiles and parts, and I'm the #1 supplier of Rupp parts for sure. There's a lot of people that are doing Rupp parts, that help people out. There's a bunch of used parts, but we do a lot of reproduction parts, from the fiberglass, the seat covers, the decals. I mean, you name it, we pretty much got it. But I mean, there's just some stuff that just is not, feasible to try to reproduce because of cost and stuff like that. But
sure,
if I don't have it, I try to turn people on where they can get it.
Nice. Now, while we're talking about that, I'm going to put a graphic for your business up on the screen. So if anyone wants to reach out to you either for parts or restoration work, or I wonder if you could tell us a little bit about some of the services and things that you offer aside from the parts you just talked about.
Yeah, we do complete snowmobile restorations here on the Rupp snowmobiles. We've done actually some other brands too, but mostly Rupps, and we've built some killer Rupps. We built some years ago, and then this thing called What If, and it's really picked on through the whole snowmobile market. But as far as I know, I'm the one that built this first one, What If Rupp built this. And what I did is I took, like this hood here, this is not a Rupp hood at all, but it's parts of a Rupp hood. It's part of a liquid coat, like right here. It's part of that, part of the free air, part here, and then when I decal them, I try to use all original Rupp decals, and I try to incorporate it somehow. So that's what I do in my custom stuff. But yeah, we do a lot of customizing. We do complete stock restorations. In the snowmobile vintage world, in the shows, there's that thing called over restored, and the polished tunnels and all the show foam, and the things are so much better looking than what they were factory. The factory is producing these, out the door on the showroom floor, so they sell them, and people have to restore them. We're restoring them, over restoring them. So we do have some of that business, and other customers, they ask it to be just like it was if I was on the showroom floor. So it's actually a pretty big wide spread how we restore a sled and what people want. And then obviously if you over restore it, I mean, it gets to be fairly expensive. And not everybody wants to spend that kind of money, but then the next guy, he wants to spend that kind of money. So I have a really big range of customers that I deal with.
Nice. So different customers have different needs.
Yep.
Nice. I'm going to put your graphic up on the screen again in case someone wants to reach out to you. And in the few minutes that we have left, one of the things I wanted to talk about is, I know when we spoke earlier, you mentioned that you've got a museum in the works. I wonder if you could tell us a little about that.
Yeah. So in my area here, where my body shop is, this is our race shop right now where we're at for the winter time, and then in summertime it's this stall here will be a car. But I have another warehouse, and I remodeled the front half of it, and it's all done. And as soon as the snow melts, we're going to get back in there, start moving some stuff around. And I have a huge amount of Rupp memorabilia. I got brand new helmets and suits and stuff I just never sold that I want to put on display. I never had a place to put it. I have a huge warehouse where all my parts are and stuff, but it's set up for parts, and I got sleds in there. It's a nice display. It's pretty impressive, but I want to build a museum so when Rupp people do come here and buy parts from me, and I can show them, some really, really cool stuff. And please understand, it's not a thing with me to say, hey, look what I got. It's a thing to show people, look what Rupp did. I mean,
yes,
I'm not a look at me type of guy. I want to show it off so people can enjoy it is what I want. I don't.
More of a celebration of the Rupp brand, so to speak.
Yeah.
Nice. I wonder if I'm hoping that you'll stay in touch with us too as you get closer to your big reveal with the museum. We would love to do a tour of that on the podcast when that's ready.
Sure, you bet. It's going to be really cool. I've got some really, really rare Rupps. I'm going to have some of my race sleds in there, all restored, that I ran through all the years. Clothing, posters, you name it. It's going to be really cool.
Wonderful. Well, great. I really appreciate your coming on, Bill. Any final words before we wrap it up?
Just like to thank. I got a lot of fan following. In these last few years, when I got in an accident there way back in 2017, if there was one accident that ever scared me, it was that one. And it just hasn't been the same. But you know what? We snuck back up on it, and we won this year. We won last year. We're getting back into that winning form. I get people. I come on Monday. My phone's ringing off the hook. My Facebook Messenger is going off. It's like, how the races go? And I got a huge fan following, and I honestly just got to say thank you to all my fans and friends and the support from the girlfriends and the wives from my team. And I mean, I just, there's a lot of love. I just like to say thank you all. Appreciate it.
Excellent. Well, yeah, thank you so much, Bill, for coming on, and please do keep us posted with the progress of your museum. We would love to have you on again once that's ready.
Sure. And then one last thing, I just said about the girlfriends for the team, but just in my life, I've sacrificed a lot of family time, away from Becky and Caitlin, especially when I was growing up. But the thing is, they both understand what it takes to do what we want to do. I mean, and we got to put 1,000,000 hours into this to make it work. And my guys do it, I do it, and I have a very understanding family. And without their support, it wouldn't be possible. So thank you, Becky. Thank you, Caitlin. I really appreciate it. Love you both.
Excellent. All righty. Well, thank you so much for coming on, Bill. It was great to meet you.
You too. Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
All righty. Take care. Well, that was awesome, folks. Let me get to the right place here on the screen. What do we have next here? We're going to bring Max Collins in. He's going to be telling us about a vintage snowmobile show that he's working on. Let me just get him on the screen here. How you doing, Max?
Hey, Mike. How are you? Thanks for having me.
Well, my pleasure. It's great to have you on. So Island Pond, Vermont, and I think 2 weeks time, 2 weeks or 3 weeks time, you've got a cool new vintage show coming out. I wonder if you could tell us about that.
Yeah, absolutely. So the folks at the Kingdom Grill in Island Pond, Vermont, long-standing establishment, used to be the Pond's Edge, and good friends of mine took it over and turned it into the Kingdom Grill. They're going to put on a vintage sled show, and it's going to be on Saturday, March 13th. And we're hoping to get some vintage enthusiasts together and kind of have a hangout where people who enjoy the heritage of the sport and people who've been involved in it for a long time can get together and have some fun.
Wonderful, wonderful. Now, Island Pond, Vermont is fairly remote, but it's very much worth a trip because that is a mecca for snowmobiling. There's going to be a lot of trail riders there stopping by to see what's going on, and it sounds like you've got some good exhibitors lined up as well. Are there any exhibitors that you might want to tease us about to tell us what we can expect?
Oh, not too many in particular that I can tell you about, but I know we've had a lot of interest in the event and a lot of people that are going to be bringing multiple vintage sleds up for everybody to see and to hang around with. And I think we can expect to see some really cool vintage sleds up there. Nice.
And I've got a graphic I'm going to put up so people can see some detail about this. If I understand correctly, the catalyst for this is the Kingdom Grill. They're putting this on. I wonder if you could give a quick plug for that restaurant. I've been there. They've got really nice food. I wonder if you could tell us about that a little bit.
Absolutely. So they opened up to the public in late summer of this past year of 2020, in the midst of the COVID-19 ordeal. So they've really had an uphill battle, but they've done such a good job of putting together a restaurant and a great place for people to go enjoy. And given the guidelines of COVID, they've really done a spectacular job. So they are excited to put on an event that is going to host a lot of folks from hopefully the area. I think we have a lot of interest from that part of Vermont, and we have a lot of interest from New Hampshire and a little bit of Maine. And I think we're going to draw a nice crowd down there to see the offerings of the sled show.
Wonderful. Yeah, I'd like to invite all of our viewers, anyone who's in northern New England, do come by and check it out. It's going to be a great show. And once again, it's in Island Pond, Vermont. Just go up Route 91 and what do you take, Route 5 to get out there?
In Lyndonville at 23, and you take Route 5 and you'll head out towards Island Pond. And like you said, it's a trail riding mecca. I mean, there's access to everywhere from there. In other years, you'd have great access to Canada. I know you can't get to Canada, obviously, now with the COVID restrictions, but just great access to all of Vermont, Canada, Maine, New Hampshire. It's such a trail riding hub that I think we're going to really, see a lot of people from a lot of places.
Yeah. And then if any of our viewers happen to be trail riding in northern Vermont, head that way. It's a great way to spend some time with some vintage snowmobile enthusiasts and see some great vintage sleds.
Absolutely. I have to tell you, I've been watching this episode from the beginning, and you had Bill Stull on here with those vintage Rupps. How cool is that? I know in the summer months, I'm a racer of karts and I work on stock cars, and I love that racing world. So to see those old Rupps all done up for racing, how cool was that?
That was amazing. He's got quite a collection, doesn't he?
Oh, absolutely. They're beautiful.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, he's as serious as they come when it comes to racing.
Yes, sir.
Now, when we spoke earlier, you also mentioned that you're involved in the clothing line, some snowmobile clothing?
Yes. So I started a clothing line earlier this year, Snow Traveler Apparel. You can find us at snowtravelerapparel.com or Snow Traveler Apparel on Facebook, and just fun T-shirts and hats and fun stuff for folks to wear that are interested in the sport and that make their winters fun riding snowmobiles.
Yeah. And you'll have some of that apparel at the Vintage Snowmobile show in Island Pond?
Definitely. Some little cool trinkets to hand out and some merchandise to sell. And we're going to have some great raffle items and raffle prizes. We've had a lot of great involvement from local organizations. The Brighton Snowmobile Club that maintains the trails and keeps everybody having fun in the Island Pond area is going to be present, and they're going to be raffling some things off. We're going to have a nice 50-50 raffle. Gervais Ace Hardware right there in the center of Island Pond has contributed some great items for raffles, and they've been a huge support for the event. We have some really cool stuff in the works.
Wonderful. Well, yeah, so if you end up going to this event, be sure and keep an eye out for Max and for his clothing line.
Yes.
Well, cool.
Thank you.
Well, cool. Well, I appreciate you coming on, Max. And,
thank you so much for having me, Mike. And like I said, we're going to have a great time down there. Like I said before, it's our first year. As far as the sled show goes, we're still kind of ironing out the nuts and bolts, and we're going to figure out how to put it all together. it's definitely going to be a fun hangout to see some cool vintage sleds and to get into the heritage of snowmobile riding and all of that. I think we're going to have a great time.
Good deal. I'll look forward to meeting you there in a couple of weeks.
Absolutely. I'll be there.
All righty. Thanks for coming on, Max. Take it easy.
Thanks, Mike.
Bye-bye. Well, that's cool. Well, I hope that you guys will join us at that show in a couple of weeks. Let me get the right graphic up. There we go. That's going to be a whole lot of fun, and I hope that you guys will decide to join us. Let's see what's next on the agenda here. Announcements. And this show is going to run a little long tonight, but that's all right. We've got some amazing stuff. We're just getting started, folks. Wanted to tell you about the Lancaster Motel. The last couple of episodes, I've been talking to you about Lancaster, New Hampshire, and the Lancaster Motel. They've got an amazing deal where if you're able to snowmobile during the week, they can offer you 2 nights for the price of 1, and they are right on the snowmobile trail. Now, these snowmobile trails are maintained by the oldest snowmobile club in America, the Lancaster Snowdrifters. They were formed in 1964, and then when you go there to snowmobile, you're snowmobiling on some of the oldest trails in America. How cool is that? Now, you're also, when you're staying there, you're also just a stone's throw, a short walking distance away from Crane's Snowmobile Museum. So when you book your room at the Lancaster Motel, once you're finished doing that, then make a call to Crane's Snowmobile Museum, because it is by appointment only. Make your appointment to have a visit at Crane's Snowmobile Museum. That museum has over 100 sleds in there. It's a big 50 by 100 foot building. Also in the museum is a corner devoted to the Eastern Snowmobile Racing Hall of Fame, which is also located in Lancaster. And as you can see, Lancaster and the Lancaster Motel are deeply tied to the history of snowmobiling. In fact, here's a graphic about the next induction ceremony for the Eastern Snowmobile Racing Hall of Fame, which we'll be talking about in just a moment. So if you're interested in doing some great trail riding, trails are in great shape right now. Should be good for another week or two at least. Things are warming up a little, but there's still plenty of good riding to be had. Give them a call or jump on their website or their Facebook. Links are in the description, and they would love to have you over there. Now, what do we have next on the agenda here? We've got Calvin Reynolds being inducted into the Eastern Snowmobile Racing Hall of Fame back in 2018. Let me cue up that video, and we'll take a look at that. Now, I'm just seeing black here. Let me try. There we go.
Inducted into the Eastern Snowmobile Racing Hall of Fame 2018. His very first race was at the 1964 Lancaster Grand Prix. Cal raced for his family's dealership team, Reynolds Raiders. He had won over 100 first, second, and third place trophies in only the first 6 years of racing. Cal raced to a second place finish against top factory riders in Mod 5 at the first USSA World Series in Rhinelander, Wisconsin. He wore gold bibs number 3, 4, and 5 during his racing career. Winning nearly every major New England championship, Cal raced to a hard-fought second place finish in Mod 4 against several top factory teams at the 1971 Lancaster Grand Prix. I'm going to come back to that one. Was voted in the top 12 best driver and best sportsman, both in the same year, covering all 3 divisions by the prestigious USSA race committee members, best driver and best sportsman. His Reynolds Raiders team is best remembered for competing on such impeccably prepared machines. It helped to elevate the entire sport of New England snowmobile racing to a higher level. This is the best photo. Cal, let me tell you something about Cal Reynolds. Cal came in with a file box full of memories. And for every memory he had of himself, there were 3 or 4 memories of his friends and competitors like Conrad and Bruce Dunham. I had a hard time finding stuff on Cal. And the best photo that we could come up with in all that stuff, and one that I wanted because it said Reynolds Raiders, is the only one that said Reynolds Raiders on his jacket. And fortunately, it came out of an old newspaper clipping, and my wife brilliantly, it was a yellowed newspaper clipping. So she did a very good job at the 1971 Grand Prix. I'll tell you who won it. It was another Mainer. His name was Conrad Rollins. Now, I can tell Bob Martin can tell you just how bad the 71 Blizzards were. The 71 Blizzard had a 27-inch ski stance. And the three-cylinder engines were wider than the ski stance. Not only that, the engine sat up on top of the tunnel. It was top heavy, it was narrow, and honestly, Cal was competing against most of the major factory teams at that Grand Prix. And to come in second on that sled says a lot about his driving ability. Because Polaris clearly had a better sled that year. They had a 34.5-inch ski stance. The engine sat low down in the tunnel. And yeah, Cal did very well to come in second place.
Well, I guess the first thing I want to do is, number one, that cost me $1,000 to get that pitch in the paper. I want to thank you for all the effort you're putting into this, and I don't know who else is doing it, and we really, really appreciate it. And Paul, I don't know, to make this facility available for us, we just can't thank you enough. I don't want to get emotional about it, because I can't help it. I can follow Louis. Yeah. But, my claim to fame really is that I've been whipped by every top driver in this room, which means every one of them, and they're all top drivers. Any given weekend, you can get your butt whipped. And because there was a lot of good riders back then. If they had everything going in the right direction. I remember one time at Bangor, and I went down there and I said, Louis didn't show up. I got it made. This guy come out of Aroostook County on a skidoo. He's standing over there at Tom Peters. And he gave me the race of my life. I rode the Bankins. I rode Timberland machine because Bobby fought me together. And I rode the Bankin, and Tom rode the inside rail. And I'm telling you, every time I come off that Bankin, I'd be in the middle of it. I'd look down like that and make a little palm. I'd try to be going a lot faster than him. And I just come off those Bankins and hit the ground. Up the back, start going into the corner, and up on the Bankin again. I look down, and there's Tom. If everybody remembers the movie, Butch Cassidy and Sundance Kids, when they had the Rangers chasing them, they said, who is that guy? Who is that guy? I kept looking at them, who is that guy? But anyway, it was a great ride. I had a lot of fun. And the best part of it is when you pull in the pits and the camaraderie. The camaraderie, that's where it's at, between Bruce, Louis, all the boys, especially that one over there that used to make a burn all the time. Everybody knows what I'm talking about. Camaraderie, we spend all day with each other, all day long, every race weekend.
We have a band of brothers.
But I couldn't have ever done it without my beautiful wife, 51 years. She's imported. Imported from Germany when she was only 18 years old. And there's my pitman over there, Steve Reynolds. He was 10 years old. He was my #1 pitman. And the lovely girlfriend, Melissa. So anyway, thanks everybody for coming up, and I thanks for all the accolades and all that slaps on the back and everything. It means a lot to me, and I'll treasure this forever. Thank you.
Now you're going on the wall, Cal.
All right. My name is Calvin Reynolds, and I'm one of the early snowmobile racers in this area, Maine, New Hampshire, and Vermont. Raced all the way to Wisconsin, the World Series out there, raced in Ireland, Michigan, raced in Pennsylvania. Started out with just single cylinder 5 horsepower machines and worked my way up to 640s and 800s. And my claim to fame, I guess, is I was beat by just about everybody in the business. I've been beat by the best, but I also won a few. So it was a great experience, and the camaraderie and the adventure and the time. Everything was the right time, the right place, the right time. And we were kind of pioneers back then. And every weekend was a blast all winter long.
Well, there you have it, folks. Cal Reynolds, inducted into the Eastern Snowmobile Racing Hall of Fame back in 2018. Not only was he a hell of a racer, he's a classy guy to hang out with and visit with. I've met him several times, and it's always a pleasure to visit with him. That's a good segue into the next thing I'm going to talk to you about. Is I hope that you will decide to join us at the Eastern Snowmobile Racing Hall of Fame induction ceremony this September. Here is the graphic for that. September 11th, 2021. It officially starts at 1:30 Eastern time, but I like to tell people to arrive at least by 1, preferably earlier if you can, and I'll tell you why. There are no chairs. You want to bring lawn chairs. You can stake out your spot. Also, this ceremony is at Crane's Snowmobile Museum. So since you're there, you want to spend some time in the museum. So plan to arrive a little early, go in there, walk around, check out the museum. As I said earlier, there's over 100 sleds in that museum. So you want to take your time and walk around in there and check things out. You also have the ability to mix and mingle with inductees past, present, and future. Cal Reynolds shows up just about every year, and he's told Midge Rosebrook that he's going to show up every year for as long as he's able to do it. And he's a hell of a guy to visit with. And he and a whole lot of the other inductees, you're able to mix and mingle with them and ask them questions and get your picture taken with them and listen to them having conversations with each other, telling these amazing racing stories from yesteryear. It's just a wonderful time. Now, once the induction ceremony is over, everyone goes over to the Lancaster Motel, which is just a short walk away, for the after party. The after party is at the Lancaster Motel. So if you're planning to come from any distance away, you want to book a room at the Lancaster Motel, and you want to book it now because this event books this motel solid every year. The nice thing about booking your room at the Lancaster Motel is as you're at the after party, as the after party begins to wind down, you're just a few short steps from your room. You can just take a few short steps to your room and retire for the evening. It's just a great way to do it. So what else have we got here on the agenda for the evening? We have Brian Robillard's footage from Rutland, Vermont. He was at a vintage show a couple of weeks ago in Rutland, Vermont, and he was kind enough to share some footage with us. Before I share this footage, I wanted to give a thank you not only to Brian for sharing all this great footage. You're probably seeing a lot of his footage here on the show, and he's come on live, and he'll be coming on live again in the near future. But I wanted to thank Brian as well as some others. Other people are starting to send me footage now and giving me contacts of people who'd like to come on or who might be suitable to come on the program, and I wanted to thank everyone for that. Now, if you're planning to attend any kind of vintage snowmobile shows, races, any kind of event, I'm going to ask you this favor. Let me put myself full screen. When you're doing footage with your cell phone, you want to hold it like this. Hold it horizontally for a wide shot, not vertically like this. It's really hard to work with vertical footage. I found a way to do it, which I'll show you in a minute, but it's always better to have horizontal footage like this. And I thank you in advance for bringing me horizontal footage. And if you have footage, if you want to do a walk around of your snowmobile, just walk around the snowmobile with your cell phone and talk it up like you're telling a friend about it, and send it on over to me. We'll put it on the program, just like you're about to see here. Also, if you go to Vintage Snowmobile events, send me some footage and I'll put it on. You're welcome to talk it up if you want to at the snowmobile show, or if not, if you're not feeling like talking. A lot of people don't. I totally understand that. I can just put some music underneath it. So let's take a look now at some footage from a couple of weeks ago at the Rutland, the Vintage Snowmobile show in Rutland, Vermont. This was shared with us by our good friend Brian Robillard. Let's take a look. So there you have it. I'd like to give a shout out to our good friend Brian Robillard for that footage, and I think I saw a couple of his sleds on display there. Yeah, thank you so much, Brian, for sharing that footage with us. We're going to have even more footage from him next week, and in the very near future, we're going to have him on. He's got some sleds he'd like to show us, so do look forward to some of that. Now, along the line of footage being shared, we've also got some footage that's been shared by Jack Ulch. Now, I believe this footage was at the, the Fast Eddie Vintage Snowmobile show a couple of weeks ago at Houghton Lake, Michigan. And Jack is going to tell us, some of the sleds there that are on display belong to his family members. He's going to tell us about his family and their association with vintage snowmobiles over the years. Let's take a look.
Okay, give you a little bit of our history of our family. 1968, my uncle that's still living, he just turned 94, bless his soul, doing good. He took on the Skidoo dealership in Harrison, Michigan. And from the years of racing, the Triple Crown, the Enduros in Michigan, the 797s, all the Blizzards, 650s, you name it. You know, that back in the days, that was awesome. And his little brother, the baby of the family, Chuck Ulch, he likes to restore. He likes to, he's bought a few. And this first snowmobile is a 1960. It's a tin cab. The whole hood is steel, made right onto the tunnel. And it has a Kohler 4-stroke engine on it. And all original, very cool, priceless, really priceless. And beside it, he has a 1961 tin cab. Again, it's got the Kohler 4-stroke engine in it, 7 horse. Wood skis, as you can see. Very, very nice snowmobile. And beside it, he has got a 1962 tin cab. Kohler engine, max speed, 25 horsepower. It's awesome, And it's not too often that you will find 3 tin cabs in any one collection in consecutive years. So that's really cool. He's got a 63 Skidoo right here, which is really nice. And matter of fact, I think he just got done restoring this one. It does have the Kohler 4-stroke engine on it also. And I'm going to zoom in here on that brass tag. And all of the tin cabs have got the brass tag. And he has got several others at his garage that have the tin tag or the brass tag on them. He's got, I think, 12 maybe that are totally all redone, look like brand new. He's got one in the museum up in Naubinway, Michigan, that at last I knew of. That was an RD8, like the old Alpine twin track single ski. 8 horsepower engine, no brake. The way they come right out of the factory. Very cool. This is his friend Brian. He lives down by the Flint area. This is a 72 Fancool TNT. Very clean, very nice. That's a 300 SM. And beside it, Brian's got a 68 Super Olympic 16 horse. Now back in 68, when my uncle took on the dealership, my father, which is second oldest, he bought one from Uncle Deke, and that's what we drove right there. My sister and I, that's what we did. That was our toys right there, man. And my Uncle Chuck also has one identical to this. Here is a 1967 Skidoo. These are awesome old sleds. Great. Here's a newer, has about, I'm thinking an 80s Skidoo 7500 Blizzard. Nope, 81. Very nice sled. Fast. 340 liquid cooled, real fast. And here's a 77 Skidoo RV 340. Very light, handled awesome, wide front end. I'm going to get in front of you. You can kind of see the bubbles out on the front by the skis. They handled awesome. Just a hell of a nice sled. But there's a lot of stuff around here.
Yes, so that was footage from Jack Ulch. I thank you so much, Jack, for that footage. And it was a great story there about his family, and there's also some great sleds. One of the things I noticed it was really nice to see is to watch the evolution of the Ski-Doo snowmobiles over the years. They were almost chronologically in order there, and it was really neat to see the progression from the early 60s through the early 80s. Really something to see, and I thank Jack Ulch so much for that footage. So next up, we've got footage from Steve Richards. This is footage I got from Steve a few years ago of a vintage Polaris TX that he owns. Let's take that TX for a little ride.
I'm not the only Team Midnight Blue rider this year.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun. Yeah, it was neat going on a little ride on that TX with him. That was really cool. Now let's take a look here. We're getting near the end of the program. Our last footage we're going to look at some footage that was shared with me a few years ago from the nice folks over at the Top of the Lake Museum over in Michigan, which reminds me I need to reach out to them and see about maybe having them come on the program for a tour of their museum. What do you guys think? Would that be a lot of fun? We're going to take a look at that footage, and we're going to take a look at a few comments, and we're going to wind down the show. But let's go out to Michigan here for a look. Yeah, so that was some cool footage from the Top of the Lake Museum out in Naubinway, Michigan. And like I said, I do want to try to get them on the program sometime. I should reach out to them in the near future to see about making something like that happen. Well, folks, that was it. That's the program for this evening. I thank you so much for coming on, both the new viewers who've come on to check it out. I hope that you enjoyed this and that you're going to make the decision right now to come back here every week. You can see on the top of the screen here, every Thursday evening, 9 p.m. Eastern Time, same bat time, same bat channel. We're just a bunch of crime-fighting people here. You can see I'm doing the Batman references. But yeah, I am one tired dude tonight. But I thank you so much, guys, for coming on. It's been a pleasure having some people on here live and sharing these videos and reliving all these memories of yesteryear. And I thank you so much for everyone who's contributing to this program, whether it's making comments, whether it's sharing it on your profile or on a friend's profile, or sending a copy of this, sharing this in a message to someone who you think might enjoy it, to sharing footage with me, to sharing contacts with me of people who might be suitable to come on the program. You guys are amazing, and it just gets better and better every week, and I really appreciate it. I think we've got one more comment. The great Judy Rinaldi. In fact, Judy, we'd love to have you on the program at some point to talk about some of your old racing stories. Judy was inducted into the Eastern Snowmobile Racing Hall of Fame a few months ago, and when I interviewed her at that time, she had a couple of racing stories for me, and I bet she has a whole lot more. I'm wondering maybe if she even has a room maybe with some trophies and some sleds in it. Judy, if you're up for something like that, send me an email. We're friends on Facebook. Send me a message. I'd love to have you on sometime as a guest live. Let me know what you think about that. Also, last comment of the evening, Stacy and Art Fosler. They're thanking me, and I thank you for thanking me, and thank you for being on the program. I am so tired, guys. I am going to go to bed, but before we do, let's take a look at this message from Mad Ramps.
It's the ultimate combination of simplicity and ingenuity. The newest way to load, unload, and transport your ATV or UTV. The Mad Ramps Pivoting Ramp System. Made in the USA and engineered for strength and durability. Maneuver through tight places and over rugged terrain with plenty of ground clearance. No licensing, no ongoing maintenance costs, and no storage hassles like trailers. Won't slip or move like conventional ramps. Free up more cargo space in the bed of your truck. Securely connects to your truck's receiver hitch. Easily extends for safe loading and unloading. Seamlessly retracts for highway and off-road travel. DOT approved in all 50 states and Canada. Quickly disconnects in under a minute. A unique space-saving storage system. The Mad Ramps Pivoting Ramp System. Go farther. Go faster. Go safer.
When you order using the link in the description, I'll send you 3 free Vintage Snowmobile DVDs. When you order using the link in the description, I'll send you 3 free Vintage Snowmobile DVDs.